Today on The Report, we discuss the acquittal of rapper A$AP Rocky for shooting his former friend.
The Department of Government Efficiency's slash and burn approach to cutting contracts.
And CSUF's new financial literacy program. The report starts now.
Welcome back to another episode of The Report. I'm Allison Goyich.
I'm Alejandra Chavez.
And I'm Juliana White. Don't forget to follow our Titan TV Instagram at Titan TV CSUF to keep in touch with us and view our latest content.
After 3 hours of deliberation amongst the jurors, A$AP Rocky's not guilty verdict on 2 felony accounts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm was read in the Los Angeles courtroom on February 18th. He leapt into the crowd and embraced his partner Rihanna in the gallery. Rocky, whose legal name is Rakeem Mayers, could have faced up to 24 years in prison. He was charged for allegedly firing blanks from a movie prop gun at Terrell Efron, known as A$AP Relly, during a scuffle on a Hollywood street in November 2021. Efron claimed one of the blanks grazed his knuckle but did not injure him. The hip-hop star had pleaded not guilty, rejected a plea deal for 180 days in jail, and opted out from testifying. In Efron's lawsuit, he stated that he had a greater desire to be paid than to see Rocky prosecuted.
After the decision, Rocky exclaimed to KTLA, quote, "This whole experience has been crazy for the past 4 years, but I'm thankful and blessed to be a free man," end quote. Los Angeles District Attorney Nathan Hochman issued a statement respecting the jury's decision, but stressed the office's commitment to seeking justice for everyone, regardless of their fame. Efron said he will pursue a civil lawsuit with the next hearing scheduled on May 28th.
Hopes for a possible ceasefire in the Russian-Ukrainian war collapsed this past weekend during a heated exchange between President Trump and the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, all televised live from the White House. Over the past 2 months, the Trump administration has been working around the clock to broker a peace deal between Ukraine and the Russian Federation with Saudi Arabia, even volunteering to serve as grounds for the negotiation to take place. The relationship between the new administration and the Ukrainian government has proven hostile, with President Zelensky even threatening to cancel his conference with President Trump after the United States backed Russia during a United Nations General Assembly vote on February 24th to, quote, "condemn Russia's aggression and demand an immediate withdrawal," end quote. Though French President Emmanuel Macron convinced Zelensky to carry on with negotiations.
On Friday, March 1st, the 2 leaders met in the White House, and while the first 40 minutes appeared calm, the hostile words of Vice President J.D. Vance slowly dissolved friendly relations with President Zelensky, who ultimately refused to agree to a ceasefire while issuing vague threats of future conflict in America, which erupted an aggressive response from President Trump saying, quote, "You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III," end quote. The possibility for an end to the war in Ukraine is difficult to foresee, with many pointing the blame of blowing negotiations on the Trump administration.
Since his notorious return to the White House, President Donald Trump has introduced a wide range of government reformation acts meant at targeting the infrastructure of the former Biden administration. However, one agency in particular that has garnered significant bipartisan interest over the last month has been the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Constituted as a temporary organization, DOGE sets its aims at limiting government spending and reducing the overall federal workforce to, I quote, "maximize governmental efficiency and productivity," end quote.
Critics of DOGE, including independent research groups such as NPR, have cast doubts on the department's legality, while key Democratic officials have alleged the appointment of South African billionaire Elon Musk to DOGE's top position as, quote, "unacceptable and dangerous," end quote. In response to criticism during a televised cabinet meeting this past week, Musk said, quote, "We wish to keep everyone who is doing a job that is essential and doing that job well, but if the job is not essential or if they are not doing the job well, then they should not be on the public payroll," end quote. Since its launch on January 20th, DOGE has reported an estimate $55 billion in recovered savings, though many within the Trump administration, including the Vice President J.D. Vance, have insisted, quote, "The real number will end up much higher," end quote.
Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey filed a lawsuit against Starbucks on February 11th, alleging that the company operated in violation of state and federal civil rights, along with discriminating against white men. Starbucks' DEI practices are the foundation for Missouri's allegations. According to the lawsuit, Starbucks discrimination occurs on the basis of race, on the basis of sex, while giving a preference to women employees and applicants, and under the rationale of Bostock on the basis of sex, giving preference to non-heterosexual employees and applicants, end quote.
The lawsuit stemmed from the Trump administration's efforts to end DEI programs in the federal government and private sector organizations. The state of Missouri seeks the declaration that Starbucks' employment practices are unlawful, monetary damages, and an injunction to stop the discriminatory practices. Starbucks has denied Missouri's allegations and shared the following public statement, quote, "We disagree with the Attorney General, and these allegations are inaccurate. We are deeply committed to creating opportunity for every single one of our partners. Our programs and benefits are open to everyone and lawful," end quote. If the Missouri lawsuit is won, it may set precedents for how courts will treat challenges to DEI programs.
Former UCLA player and Minnesota Vikings punter Chris Kluwe was arrested during a Huntington Beach City Council meeting after he engaged in a peaceful protest to demonstrate his opposition to the council's decision to engrave the "Make America Great Again" slogan on a plaque for the library's 50th anniversary. Kluwe objected to the slogan and called for a, quote, "neutral ground," end quote, to the library. He also argued that the MAGA movement resembles Nazi ideology and discriminates transgender rights in an attempt to centralize power. Although the council did not address his comments, he was detained for 4 hours. His protest comes after the Huntington Beach City Council unanimously approved to declare itself a, quote, "non-sanctuary city for illegal immigration for the prevention of crime," end quote.
The following day, Kluwe said, quote, "This is my first act of civil disobedience," end quote, expressing frustration with Democratic leaders for not combating President Trump's authoritative power. He added, quote, "I'm not going to ask anyone to do something I'm not willing to do myself," end quote. The plaque was approved unanimously, and Kluwe is due in court on the misdemeanor charge on April 16th.
Cal State Fullerton's Basic Needs Services is preparing students for success amid tax season in a fluctuating economy with the Financial Wellness Peer Mentorship Program. The program aims to help students develop skills in financial literacy after graduation and for their careers. The benefit is that the peer mentors are students and not professional advisors, which can help alleviate discomfort when discussing financial stress. The program's top priority is accessibility to every student and customization to their financial concerns. All students have the opportunity to experiment with budgeting, credit fundamentals, and money management. The Basic Needs Services also offers other virtual and in-person programs, such as Financial Wellness, Apartment Hunting 101, Managing Debt, and Budgeting Student Semesters. Students can meet with a financial wellness peer mentor virtually or in Gordon Hall, room 179, on Thursdays from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. and Fridays from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. For more information, visit www.fullerton.edu/basic-needs. Okay, moving on. Here we have listened to really interesting stories these days, and like these ones really make me shocked. So the first one, I want to know your guys' thoughts on ASAP Rocky and his acquittal of the assault charges.
I think that's a really interesting case, just because him getting a not guilty verdict kind of opens the door for the question of, is it okay to shoot at somebody even if there are no real ammunition in there? So that's kind of scary.
No, yeah, you're right. Like, I'm happy he's back with his family because I know it's not an easy process. However, it's like, what does this really mean in like the system? It's like, not just because he's famous, he should be like, I'm not saying he was released just because he was, but however, this is not his first allegation of assault. So I'm really wondering what's going on.
Yeah, honestly, what I was shocked at was his reaction to winning the case, just seeing him diving over towards Rihanna. That was crazy.
Yes, it was a lot. A very big reaction.
Especially interesting to do in court.
Yes, yeah. Another really big reaction was President Trump and J.D. Vance's reaction to President Zelensky in the White House. That was a really kind of disturbing thing to watch because these two political figures were bullying another political figure who is going through so much right now, and he's pleading for our help, and they're just bullying him.
Yeah, totally. I consider it totally disrespectful what happened, like in my opinion. And they were kind of looking down on Ukraine's president since like they're treating him and talking to him like if he hasn't like lost that many people already, you know?
Yeah, they were even making fun of him for not wearing a suit to the White House. And he even commented saying, you know, once the war is over, then he'll dress up and conform to what they want. But right now, his country is at war. So he's not going to go around in a fancy suit and everything while the rest of his country is suffering, because he's been on the front lines and has really been helping out with everything.
And so many countries have just pushed back and said, Zelensky and Ukraine, we stand with you. Even the King of England invited him to lunch, which is completely unheard of. So I think our president and VP are definitely in the wrong here.
And it's also, they were insulting our ally, which is very concerning, because these are people that we want to be on good terms with and not be fighting with.
Right. And they were kind of talking about, you know, the idea of World War III, and I wouldn't put it past President Trump.
Yeah, I think this is a really serious matter because we're giving our back to our allies. So what are the other allies are going to think about our situation? And additionally, with the Department of Government Efficiency and the slashes, what are your thoughts on that? Since like, well, Elon Musk is now so involved in our government, I would like to know, like, okay, what position is he playing in all this? We didn't choose him, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting to see that he has so much power when the American people did not vote him in at all. And now he's making a bunch of changes, cutting a bunch of important federal agencies. Like one of them that he cut was the team that was working on the bird flu case. And so then the agricultural department had to scramble to quickly hire them back because they were key workers to helping with the bird flu.
Right. Yeah. They definitely were scrambling, like the eggs that we don't have anymore. There's no eggs. I can't find them anywhere, and they're so expensive if you do.
They are. And additionally, we can see like people getting fired in national parks. Last weekend, I was in Joshua Tree and I was there during a protest. And you can see like the bands of people regretting who voted for Trump. I read this story about this woman who was waiting for a medical procedure and that's why she voted for Trump. However, she used to work in a national park and with this measurement, she got fired and now she has bigger problems. So she really regrets her choice, you know. And the next story with Missouri lawsuit bring against Starbucks DEI. How are we feeling about like diversity? That has been a really controversial topic these past few days.
I feel like recently DEI has just become such a trigger word. Like you hear it and you'll either have people on one side being like, oh, it's great, it's amazing. Or you'll have people on the other side being like, it's awful, it's terrible, and to get rid of it. But it is in place to make sure that there is diversity within the workforce and that you don't have just, let's say a group of like white men on a board overseeing everything. So.
Yeah, of course. We're looking at qualifications too while looking to hire somebody, but diversity and environment is really important, mostly in a country such as the United States that it's surrounded with so many cultures and perspectives,
100%. I totally agree. So on to the NFL punter who was arrested in Huntington Beach. What do you guys think about that?
That was interesting to see. I feel that the police overstepped their bounds a little bit because he did say that he was going to now peacefully protest, and he just simply walked out, and then they came, and next thing, he's on the ground.
Yes, yeah, I totally agree. And, Huntington Beach is very leaning conservatively, and I almost wonder if they were trying to silence his First Amendment right, because that's exactly what he was practicing, was his First Amendment right to his freedom of speech and his freedom to protest. And although he did walk towards the council members, he did say that he was, enacting a peaceful protest, and he didn't seem like a threat. So I do agree. I think that they really overstepped and overcalculated the risk of that situation because it didn't seem like he was gonna, hurt anyone.
Yeah, he slowly walked out. I mean, I would understand if they detained him the way that they did, if he was running or if he had, a weapon on him concealed or just something, or if he came at the council with like hostile intent. Except he just walked out and then they were on top of him.
Yeah. I agree with you guys. It's a really unfair situation, mostly for him. He was doing a peaceful protest and like this and this way. But moving on with the CSUF financial literacy program, I consider that amazing. Personally, I don't know much about finances. I didn't take a class in high school. So I'm really glad like this program is starting to help students, and some of us don't have any guidance,
Yeah, I think it's a great start for students to start learning about their finances and just how to manage them. And then later on, they could go off to a professional and everything.
Agreed.
And
yes.
it's a jumping off point, so they know where to go.
Yes, of course. I think that it's important to still chat with professionals to make really big financial decisions. But I mean, it's great to have somebody to be able to bounce ideas off of and go to for advice and confide in if you're trying to figure out your financials. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, especially since most college kids when you think about incoming college kids, they're 18, 19. They don't know what they're doing all the time.
And as college kids, we struggle.
Yeah. So I'm glad there's some help coming.
Yes,
yeah, there's
me
some guidance.
Too. And with that, that's all we have for today.
And stay tuned for more news, views, and info.
We'll see you next time on The Report.